Hi there everybody, it's Rosie here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you for joining me today for another card making video, and today's is for the Project Share project blog hop that we run each month. So myself, Heather, Jill and Jez all sort of share a project each Thursday just over on our blogs, and then once a month we're going to do a lovely little blog hop. So this video just is showcasing that, and the theme we've got this time is vintage. So this is right up Jessie's street. She loves all the vintage stuff. Okay, but it's not really a theme that I kind of go for a lot, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. So I've made a prototype card, but I can't say that I'm particularly happy with it. It feels a bit plain and stuff, but I've got some ideas to maybe spruce it up a little bit. Okay, so this is sort of the kick-off then. So we're going to be using Daisy Delight for these nice sort of florals that we can easily sort of make into these sort of sepia kind of images. Okay, and I've got the coordinating dies with that. And then the background, I thought I'd use these countryside corners, these nice frames. Okay, and then that's got coordinating dies with it as well. So the stamp is a single stamp, and then you just sort of crop out what you want out of it. So those are those. But one of the things that I thought was a bit boring was the background, this sort of plain background. So first thing to do to rectify that is I'm going to bring in one of the 3D Basics embossing folders. So these are online exclusive. It's a pack of 3. You get this one, the dots, and like a star kind of thing. Looks like I do crochet as well, so it sort of looks like star stitch. So you can see that. These great big bold dots, which are cool. And then there's this one, which is just like a very generic sort of crisscrossy kind of I don't know what you're going to say, like material, fabric, that's the word, fabric. So we're going to use Very Vanilla. Again, I don't use a lot of Very Vanilla, but obviously it lends itself quite nicely to this kind of theme. And then this brown is Copper Clay. So there's loads of browns that we could use. Pecan Pie, there's Lily Espresso, but we could even go with the greys. So we've got Pebble Path, which is a bit of a sort of more of a brown grey, a warm grey. That's what I mean. Just grabbing my embossing plate for the Stampin' Cut and Emboss. So because it's a 3D folder, if you look on your base plate of your machine, it's got exactly what sandwich you're supposed to use for each one. So for a 3D folder I just need my base plate and the grey number 4 plate. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we'll just sandwich that in there with that on top and roll that through the machine, and then we'll put it back together ready for doing a bit of die cutting when we get to it. So just rolling that through. So you should feel it, you know, some kind of pressure, but it shouldn't be difficult to roll it through. And then you get this lovely texture onto your cardstock, which is fun dabby dozy. So I'm just going to put all of those plates back on there, ready for later. And you know what? I'm going to do all the sponging and stuff afterwards. So we're going to, like, you know, rub some of the brown ink over the top. So that's our background done. And the other thing was that this shape that we cut, or I cut, feel like it's just a size too small. So we'll restamp the image. So like I say, the Countryside Corners it's a single stamp. It's almost like a background stamp. So we'll just grab some cardstock, and I am pulling in my my Stamparatus. I still have it, so I'm going to use it. So I'm just going to pop some cardstock in there and bring in the Copper Clay ink, and ink up the stamp. And you know what, if it doesn't quite stamp perfectly, it's not going to matter too much anyway. We're looking for a vintage look. And oh, should have taken out the foam thingy. And I just want this to help me rub it as well. So if you've got a stamp positioning tool, then obviously that's really good to use with this larger stamp. Okay, so we'll just pop that to one side and clean that off later. But we're left with this, and we don't necessarily need all of the pieces. So I cut around this sort of first stitchy thing, first stitch line here. But to make it bigger, we're going to cut around this larger one. So we want to bring in the dies. I think it's this one, no, next one. Actually, I'm going to leave that one on because I want the panel on the inside. So we're going to cut this out so that we can see this bit, this triple stitch line thing. Okay, but I want a plain panel. I don't want all this in the middle. So I'm going to cut another panel to go on top of it with plain cardstock. Could flip this over, I guess. And save some cardstock, but the ink might show through, so I'm going to do this one first and let's just see what we end up with. Okay, so I'm just going to pop some very well worn washi tape on that, and we're going to run that through the machine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in sort of corner first, so so the roller doesn't hit this hard straight edge. You'll find it's much easier to die cut if you lead in with like a corner or a rounded edge rather than a flat edge. Okay, it's like your car going over speed bumps, it just doesn't like it as much. So we'll just peel that away. It says. No, I don't know whether you can see that, but I can see that see there's, you can see through it, the ink, because this is just the regular weight cardstock. So that's our outside edge, which is all great. We've got this that we could use for something else. So we could use the other die and create like a frame and things, but that's not what we're going to do today. So I've got another piece of cardstock. And I'm going to use the next die down to create the inner panel for this. So I'm just going to pop some tape on that and then run that through. And then we've got our inside panel as well. So obviously all this is going to get like, so hear that crunch, that was because I've gone through, I haven't thought about how to put that through. So if you put it in straight, you're going to get a bit more sort of cracking and creaking on your when you die cut. It's not going to hurt it, just very noisy. And can be a bit difficult to do manually. Okay, so if you are having trouble, that might be a solution for you. Okay, so these are going to be our panels that we're going to put together once we've inked everything up. So this is what we've got so far, and then we'll sponge over the top with everything. Got another scrap here for our floral elements, so just picked out 2 of those, whichever ones you fancy really for your project. I did think about using the big image but I don't know, I just wanted something a little more delicate. Okay, we're going to be die cutting these out, so you can just put these anywhere we like on there. And I've also forgotten that I was supposed to stamp my sentiment before I die cut that, but no matter. I'm going to pop some Wink of Stella on this, only because, you know what, a little bit of sparkle's fine. And also what it will do is it will just pull that ink and just sort of make it look more like one of those sort of sepia-esque kind of prints, where the lines just aren't quite as sharp. So just rubbing here over bits and pieces of this. Okay, and it just gives us just a little bit of colour into the images, but not loads. This was my sentiment, and what I was going to do was stamp the sentiment and then make sure I was lined up on there. So what I'm going to grab instead is just a piece of grid paper, which is very well used, and then just try this stamp out again for straightness. So I'm going to use a grid line, pop that down, and it's just a bit low on the right hand side, so I just need to make it so it's low on the right, so I need to shift that a little bit. And that's too far, you see. So, oh, I think I might just have to go with it. It was almost right. So, that's not too bad. I think it'll be fine once we've done everything else. So that's our sentiment on there. And again, we're going to do our some sticky stuff that's ended up on there. I don't know what that is. It's fine. It's supposed to be vintage, so it will just have to give it a bit more of a grungy look, I guess. Okay, these guys just need die cutting now as well. So again, we're going to bring back this very well used washi tape. Just keep using it and using it till it doesn't stick anymore. So a roll of tape is going to last you a very long time. The ones I use are, oh gosh, I don't even want to think about how long ago this was. I got a funny feeling that the colours in this are Hello Honey and Tip Top Taupe, something like that. Maybe even Watermelon Wonder. I think that was with that. Yeah, Tip Top Taupe. I think it was Watermelon Wonder, Cucumber Crush, and those ones. Oh, so we're going back some time, and I've still got a fair bit on there to go. Just keep tearing off these little strips and just keep using it and using it until all the sticky wears off. Because you just want it to hold still long enough for you to run it through the machine. We are long awaiting a magnetic plate for our Stampin' Cut and Emboss. We did have one, but there was a defect with it, so it was discontinued, and then we haven't been able to get one back as yet. Hopefully Stampin' Up are working on it, because a magnetic plate would be really, really useful. Okay, right, so our scrap paper is going to come back in now, and we're going to get loads of ink all over, I say loads of ink, we're going to ink up all the bits basically. Okay, so I've got our florals, our panels and our background. Okay, so just going to again grab the copper clay ink pad. Oopsie daisy, let's put that away out the way. And grab a blending brush, take off most of the excess ink because we only want a very, just a hint of it really, around all of these edges. Go heavier in some places if you want. Just to make it a bit uneven. You could distress the edges with a pair of scissors or something as well, if you like that kind of look as well, more of a almost shabby chic-esque. So I'm just going to go a bit heavier on these opposing corners there. Just want a little bit of something on these just to take off, not the whiteness, but you know, the brightness of that, and then just a little bit on this, so it'll still sort of pop from the page. So that's all we need on there. It's amazing how much ink kind of stays put on these things. I feel like you're very far away, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so I reckon we can start putting this together now. So let's grab, because we're using a textured layer here, I'm going to bring in the multi-purpose glue. You don't need loads of it. So we can pop that down. It's not quite a full layer, and the honest answer is that I made a little bit of a faux pas when I was cutting it, so I took off an extra 1/8 of an inch, so that's just real life for you there. And then we're going to go and add this on. I think what we actually need to do is just go around the edge of that a little bit, because it's kind of getting lost in the background. So I'm just going to use the ink pad, just press gently into the ink, don't slide through, just dab the edge in very lightly. These are foam ink pads, they've got, you know, sponge, so if you're too rough, you'll damage that sponge. So just tapping the edges of that very, very, very gently. Just to put some colour around the edge, and it's kind of bizarre how much of a difference that makes without having to necessarily layer it. So the dies give you a very deep border, as you'll see when I put on the next one down. I don't know, what is it, about, must be about 1/4 inch between the layers. I'll do all that straight. And when I do, yeah, it's about 1/4 inch, I reckon. So it's kind of a bit deeper than I would like a matte layer to be. So could have done with probably putting some ink around the edge of that as well, just to make that pop a little bit, but I think it's fine. So I don't know whether you can see on this one, I actually sort of cut it myself, but you have to sort of obviously try and get that nice and straight by hand, which isn't the easiest thing to do. So that's a way to get around that. And then we can pop on these floral elements like so. So that guy can go over there a little bit. This one's going to go flat. So we'll just pop that on there, over the edge of this. And then we're going to use some mini dimensionals to attach this one. So just pop in those on there. So sometimes those come off as you apply them. The backings, that is. And sometimes they don't. So we'll just pop those off. Candy today. And then some glue will just give you the opportunity to go to be sure it's in the right place before you commit to it. Almost out of this glue. And this guy, be nice to cover the edge of that stem there, which is good, so that's good. And then we'll pop that in there. So it's giving it a little bit of a lift, a bit of dimension on there, like so. And then we can add some. Now I would say ordinarily I'd have gone with some champagne rhinestones, but we don't have any of those anymore. So I'm going to bring out these pastel sequin adhesive dots. Sorry, adhesive backed sequins. I don't know where the word dots came from. Which have got this sort of matte gold look to them. So I could go over them with some with a blend actually, if you wanted to sort of really take away some of that brightness. There are some neutral sequins in the catalogue, but I don't have them. But like I say, if you wanted to, you could go over those with one of the Stampin' Blend markers. Which you probably should do before you stick them onto the project, to be fair. Okay, that just tones those in a little bit. It looks a bit red at the moment, but it'll dry back. Okay then, so there we go. A vintage look card, and I think this version looks better than that version. I think this just looked really plain. So I think it's just got a little bit more to it, if you like. So there you go. So that's my take on a vintage card for today's blog hop. So obviously, if you check out the description, there's a link to my blog post, which will then link on to all the other ladies' projects as well. So everyone I'm sure will be doing very different things. So do take a look, and hopefully you'll be inspired to do something similar. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you're staying safe. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.